Prologue. I used to believe that death was an ending. Now I know it's a door. And sometimes when you miss someone enough, you walk right through it, even if your body stays behind. Chapter 1. The First Night. They say grief comes in waves, but mine came like a flood, fast, drowning, without mercy. 1 minute I was sipping coffee and scrolling through his last text, and the next I was empty. His name was Aiden, 28, medical student, loved thunderstorms and jazz records and tracing circles on my lower back until I fell asleep. He died in a car crash on a Tuesday afternoon, just like that. I remember screaming but not hearing it. I remember the way people looked at me like I was glass. I didn't cry at the funeral. I think I forgot how. Weeks passed in gray. I slept too much or not at all. Ate cereal straight from the box at 3 a.m. and stared at the space where his shoes used to be by the door. I deleted his number, then added it back, then deleted it again. And then, one night, he came back. In a dream, he stood in the kitchen wearing the same hoodie he died in, barefoot, holding a mug. "You forgot to buy coffee," he said, like nothing had happened. I didn't move, just stared. "Aiden?" He smiled. "Yeah, babe, it's me." I woke up gasping, tears soaking the pillow. But that was only the beginning. The next night, he returned. This time, he touched me. His hands were warm, real. I could feel the roughness of his palms, the weight of his body as he leaned into me, his breath on my collarbone. "I missed you," I whispered. "I never left." We kissed. God, it felt like him. The way his lips tasted slightly like mint and memory. I let him undress me, slowly, reverently, as if I were made of something holy. We made love in that dream, slow, aching, desperate. I cried when I came. He held me after, tracing that same circle on my back. When I woke, I could still feel him, and something inside me shifted. I didn't want the morning anymore. Chapter 2. Second Skin. I stopped setting alarms. Mornings became unbearable, sunlight too harsh, birds too loud, people too alive. I lived for the moment the world dimmed and my eyelids grew heavy, because that's when he returned. Each night, Aiden became more vivid, more real. I could smell his scent, cedar wood and warm laundry. I could feel the weight of his hand on the small of my back, the rhythm of his breath against my neck. We talked for hours about nothing and everything. It was the kind of intimacy people write poems about. But it was only mine. No one else believed. I tried to tell my best friend, June. We sat in our usual corner booth at the cafe. She stirred her latte like it had secrets in it, listening while I told her about the dreams. At first she nodded, then she blinked. "You mean like memories? Flashbacks?" "No," I said, staring into my untouched cup. "He talks to me, touches me. It's like he never died." "Not really." Her face changed, like she wanted to say something kind but couldn't find the right lie. "It's the grief, babe. Your brain's just trying to cope. You'll get through this." I almost laughed. I didn't want to get through it. I wanted to go back. The dreams began to change. Or maybe I did. In one, we stood at the ocean's edge. The waves kissed our ankles. Aiden wrapped his arms around me and whispered, "Stay a little longer tonight. I didn't want to wake up." In another, we lay on our old bed, bodies tangled in sweat and sheets. His touch was deeper, more urgent, the kind of touch that said, "You are mine." My skin burned with it. I whispered his name like a prayer, over and over. He kissed every part of me, thighs, hips, scars. His fingers found the places that still remembered joy. I cried again when it was over, not from pain, from knowing he'd be gone by morning. I began to nap during the day just to see if I could find him again. Sometimes I did. Sometimes nothing. That nothing terrified me, because I was starting to believe I could live without the real world. But I couldn't survive losing him again. One night I asked him, "Is this heaven?" He looked at me for a long time before saying no. "This is the space between." What does that mean? He didn't answer. In waking life, I lost interest in almost everything. Work emails piled up unanswered. I avoided phone calls. I forgot birthdays. I ignored texts that said I'm worried about you. The world became quiet. And I preferred it that way. Because the dream world was louder than ever, and he was waiting. Chapter 3. The Taste of Reality. I began to lose track of time. Days bled into nights, nights into dreams, and dreams into Aiden. I no longer knew when I was awake, or if I was. The world around me became a film over glass, thin, blurry, untouchable. I burned a pot of pasta and didn't notice until the fire alarm screamed. I showed up at the wrong day for a doctor's appointment. I called June and forgot why. But in my dreams, I remembered everything. His smile, the freckle under his left eye, the way he used to hum under his breath when washing dishes. I even remembered how he chewed ice cubes when nervous. My mind kept building him, accurate, warm, whole, not a ghost. I told myself it was okay, that this was grief. This was my process. But then something new happened. He brought me coffee. In the dream, he handed me my favorite mug, the white one with the chipped handle and little red fox on the side. I laughed. You remembered? Of course I did, he said with that tilted smile. I took a sip. Bitter, hot, too hot. I winced. Then I woke up, in bed, alone. But the taste still lingered, coffee, real, in my mouth. And the mug was beside me on the nightstand, the chipped fox mug, still warm. I stared at it for 5 full minutes. My hand trembled when I picked it up. Was I sleepwalking? Was I losing my mind? I smelled the mug. Coffee, still steaming. A part of me screamed, "This is impossible." But another part, quieter, deeper, whispered, "Not if he's real." That day, I didn't speak to anyone. I unplugged the landline, turned off my phone, closed the blinds. I didn't eat. I didn't drink. I waited for sleep like an addict waits for a hit. When it finally came, I dropped into the dream like falling into a lake. He was waiting for me in the apartment we used to share, wearing that navy t-shirt I loved, the one that always smelled like him. "I brought you something," he said, pulling me into a hug. His arms, God, his arms. I melted into them like I'd never left. "What's happening to me?" I whispered. "I think I'm losing it." He pulled back, touching my face. "No, you're waking up." "What?" "This world, this space. It's not a dream. It's what's left of us. The place where love doesn't die." His words were honey and poison. "I don't want to go back," I said. "You don't have to," he whispered, kissing my temple. "But there's a price." "What kind of price?" But he didn't answer. Instead, he kissed me. Hard, deep, desperate. And I let go of everything else. Chapter 4. The Price of Staying. After that night, the dreams grew longer. Or maybe I just slept more. I stopped checking. I stopped caring. I stopped answering June's texts. I stopped doing laundry. I stopped pretending I was part of the world outside my head, because I wasn't. Not really. Not anymore. The apartment smelled like him. Not in memory. Now, his cologne, his soap, even the faint scent of cinnamon from the pancakes he used to make on Sundays. I hadn't lit a candle. I hadn't cooked, but I smelled him everywhere. His hoodie, the one I buried in a drawer, appeared folded on my bed, still warm. I began to keep my bedroom cold just so I could wear it without raising suspicion. I slept in it every night. I'd hold the sleeves over my face and inhale him like oxygen. Sometimes I cried. Sometimes I touched myself to the memory of his hands. Sometimes he touched me instead. There were nights when I couldn't tell the difference. One morning, I woke up and realized I had bruises on my thighs, soft, finger-shaped. I laughed, actually laughed, out loud, because that meant he was real, didn't it? That meant we weren't just dreaming. That meant love could reach past the grave if it needed to. That meant I wasn't crazy, right? Started. Voices, not his, others, whispering at the edges of sleep, low, distant, familiar but wrong. like the sound of your name in a nightmare. Sometimes I'd open my eyes and the world would shimmer for a second. The walls would breathe. The lights would hum in a language I didn't understand. My body began to ache in the mornings, muscles tight, joints burning. My skin felt too tight, my eyes too wide. I stood in front of the mirror one night and barely recognized myself. I was too pale, lips raw from biting, eyes rimmed in black. But I was smiling like someone in love, smiling like someone who had made a deal with something they didn't understand and didn't care to. Then came the choice. One night he held me close, closer than ever. We were in the park where we first kissed. I remembered the exact bench, the scent of spring in the air, the way his hands had trembled slightly when he touched my face. "You don't have to go back," he whispered. "We can stay here. Forever. How? You know how." He looked at me, really looked. And suddenly I understood what he meant. My breath caught. He was asking me to die. Not violently, not cruelly, just to stay asleep. Forever. And part of me wanted to say yes, because this world, this feeling, it felt like home. He felt like home. But another part of me, the part that remembered laughter with June, the taste of rain on my tongue, the smell of books, the burn of real coffee, the pain of living, that part was still alive. Just barely. Chapter 5, The Waking Ache. I started waking up crying. Not the soft cinematic tears that fall quietly down a cheek. No. I mean heaving, clawing. The kind that leaves your pillow soaked and your throat raw. The kind that empties you. And still, every night, I went back. The dream world was growing stronger. It responded to my desires now. If I wished for warmth, a fire crackled to life in the hearth. If I wished for him, he was already there, lips parting into that crooked, heartbreaking smile. He read to me in bed. He danced with me in the rain. He kissed me like nothing in the world ever hurt. And I let myself believe that this was what love could be. Eternal, safe, endless. But every time I woke, my body told a different story. My skin had grown pale, translucent in places. I hadn't eaten a proper meal in days, maybe weeks. My ribs pressed against my skin like forgotten truths. My nails turned brittle, my hair hung lifeless. My apartment reeked of neglect. The plants were dead. The food in the fridge spoiled. I hadn't showered in 4 days, but I didn't care. Because I knew what waited behind my eyelids. I dreamed of making love to him under starlight. His mouth on my neck, his voice in my ear. "You belong with me." I moaned his name again and again, begged him not to let me wake. "I won't," he said. "Not if you stay." And I almost did. That night, I went to bed with a bottle of sleeping pills in my hand. I poured them out, counted them, 32, enough. My fingers trembled as I picked up the first one. But then, my phone buzzed, a text. "From June, are you okay? Please don't disappear on me." That small, stupid message broke the trance. I stared at the pill in my hand, at the words on the screen, and I screamed. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the floor, knees to chest, shaking. The bottle still open. June's text still glowing. I wanted him. But I didn't want to die. Or did I? What kind of person was I becoming? What kind of love was this, if it asked me to trade my life? The next morning, I finally left the apartment. I walked into sunlight like a vampire. My eyes burned. My body ached. But I was awake. I called June. She cried when she heard my voice. We sat in the cafe again. She held my hand the whole time. "I missed you," she said. "You look like hell." "I feel like it," I whispered. "But I think I want to live." Chapter 6, Withdrawal. I thought choosing to live would feel like victory. It didn't. It felt like dying again. The first night I stayed awake was unbearable. My skin itched. My heart wouldn't settle. I paced the apartment like a caged thing. Every part of me screaming to lie down, to close my eyes, to go back to him. But I didn't. I sat on the couch, curled up in his hoodie, watching the city lights flicker through the blinds. Every minute dragged like an hour. My body cried out for sleep, not from exhaustion, but addiction. I'd made the dream world my drug, and now I was detoxing. At 3:17 a.m., I hallucinated his voice. At 4:03, I nearly gave in, but I didn't. The second night was worse. I fell asleep by accident, face buried in the couch. He was there immediately, smiling, radiant, beautiful. "You came back," he said, as if I'd never left. And for a moment, I believed I had made a mistake. I ran to him. I kissed him like I was starved. He wrapped his arms around me, whispered, "It's okay. You're safe now. Don't fight it." But something felt different. The light was too bright, the shadows too long. His voice echoed oddly, like a recording played in the wrong room. And then I noticed his eyes. Not quite brown, not quite his. I pulled away. "Aiden?" I whispered. His face twitched, just slightly. I stepped back. The dream around me began to shift, walls bending, trees flickering. His face, melting into grief, confusion. "You're not him," I said, breathless. He reached for me. "Don't go." But I did. I forced myself awake and vomited into the sink. June came over the next day. She held me while I cried. She made me soup. She lit candles. She didn't ask questions, just stayed, like a real friend does. "I think I was trying to die without dying," I said, voice barely a whisper. "You still can't say goodbye, can you?" I shook my head. He was everything, and in the dream, he still is. "But he's not here," she said gently. "And you are..." That night, I slept only 2 hours. No dreams. It felt like punishment, but also a small kind of peace. Over the next weeks, I did the things people do when they want to live again. I opened the windows. I watered a new plant. I put the pills in the trash. I started therapy. I even laughed, once, watching June try to parallel park. It felt strange, like my mouth didn't remember the shape of joy. But it was something. Still, every night I went to bed terrified, because I knew he'd be waiting, and I didn't trust myself not to follow him. Chapter 7. The Last Visit. It happened on the 44th night. I hadn't seen him in over a week. Each night I fell asleep and found nothing, just blackness or strange flickers of other dreams. No Aiden, no warmth, just silence. I told myself this was progress, healing, closure, but the truth? I missed him so much it burned. That night sleep came fast, deep, heavy, and there he was. But not as I remembered him. Aiden stood in the middle of our old living room, only it wasn't ours anymore. The place was empty, walls bare, windows cracked, light flickering like a dying candle. He looked older somehow. Or maybe I was just finally seeing what I hadn't before. His face was full of sorrow. "You weren't supposed to come back," he said softly. My heart splintered. I didn't mean to. He smiled, gentle, broken. "But you did." I took a step toward him. "Is this real?" "No," he said, "but it matters." We stood in silence for a long time. My fingers twitched at my sides, aching to touch him, but something told me not to. "I'm scared," I whispered. He nodded. "So was I. I don't know how to live without you." "You do," he said. "You just don't want to." Tears welled in my eyes. "I'm forgetting you. Your voice, your laugh." He stepped closer. Just one step. "That's okay," he whispered. "You're not supposed to carry me forever." I shook my head. "But I want to." He smiled again, this time with peace in it. "You loved me. That's enough. Now you get to love someone else, even if it's just yourself." I sobbed. It came from the core of me. I felt my knees buckle, and before I hit the floor, he caught me, just like he used to. "I don't want to go," I whispered. "I know, but you already did." The dream began to unravel. The walls faded. The light dimmed. He pulled me close one last time, and I felt it. His heartbeat. Strong, steady. Just for a moment. He kissed my forehead. His lips were warm. "Goodbye," he said, and when I looked up, he was gone. I woke up with wet cheeks, empty arms, and the first breath that didn't feel like drowning. Aiden was gone, but this time, I let him go. Chapter 8, The Morning After the End. The morning was painfully bright. Sunlight spilled across the floor in long golden ribbons, dancing over dust I hadn't noticed in weeks. My room was quiet, truly quiet, for the first time in over a month. No scent of him on the pillow, no ghost warmth beside me, no ache pulling me back to sleep. Just me, just the day, just now. And somehow I didn't cry. I got out of bed slowly, like my body was learning how to belong to the waking world again. The mirror didn't scare me this time. Yes, I looked thin, tired. My skin still pale, eyes still ringed in the memory of sorrow. But there was something else there too, a steadiness, a softness I hadn't seen before, like the beginning of something new. I opened the window. The breeze smelled like wet grass and city noise. Life. I made coffee, real coffee, bitter, imperfect, messy. I didn't cry when I drank it. I sat at the kitchen table and looked around. The apartment was a mess. Papers everywhere, dishes, dust. But it was mine again. I found the old hoodie, the one that still held his shape. I folded it and placed it in the drawer. Not to forget, but to begin. Later, I called June. When she answered, her voice cracked with surprise. "You sound different." "I think I am," I said, "or I'm trying to be." She paused. "Did he come back?" I swallowed. "Yes, one last time." "And?" I said goodbye. Silence. "Then I'm proud of you." I smiled. "A real one." "Thank you," I whispered. "Me too." That evening, I walked to the bookstore we used to visit, the one with the creaky floorboards and the faded awning. It was still there, still smelled like old pages and soft light. I bought a journal and a pen, and when I got home, I wrote the first sentence: "He was never a ghost. He was a memory dressed in love." And then I kept writing. I don't know if I'll ever fall in love again. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But I know this. I'm no longer chasing a shadow. I'm no longer falling asleep to die. I'm waking up to live. Epilogue. They say when someone dies, they live in your memories. But sometimes they visit your dreams. And sometimes they ask you to follow. But if you're lucky, if you're brave, you'll kiss them one last time and wake up because there's a life still waiting. And it's yours